Good morning and welcome to another episode of Brewin on Broad Street. I'm Steve Snyder, entrepreneur in residence here at Gesmer Updegrove. We're a full-service law firm for the life cycle of technology companies. That includes companies both here in the U.S. and companies that start in other parts of the world and expand into the U.S. And that's one of the reasons that I have a very special guest here this morning. Scott Sargis is a longtime friend and managing partner of IEC Partners, which is a business incubator and business accelerator for companies here in the U.S. and for companies that start in other parts of the world and come here. You and the firm have built a terrific track record of success working with dozens and dozens of companies focusing on go-to-market strategies and market expansion strategies. So thank you for being here this morning, and tell us a bit about you and IEC Partners.
Sure, yeah. Well, thank you, Steve, for inviting me to be part of this. This is truly a pleasure to be here, connecting with you, but also talking to the audience as well. And I appreciate the opportunity to tell the story. So IEC Partners, we've been in existence for over a dozen years. We grew out of Babson College, founded by several professors at Babson that had been in the business world prior to their tenure at Babson, decided to go back and teach and met there and wanted to start up back to their entrepreneurship roots and help businesses around the world determine their growth strategy and how to make connections, network connections throughout the world. So we've started that ecosystem back over a dozen years ago, and it's been just a great ride for us. We're operating in about 10 or 12 countries now, very actively, both here in North America, South America, also in Africa, Middle East, and Europe. And our whole goal is to create this ecosystem of bringing people together, both large-scale enterprise companies as well as young emerging companies. And there's tons of great ideas all around the world that we get access to all the time.
That's a perfect response, because you often tell me that IEC serves as that bridge between your enterprise clients as well as your emerging company clients. How does that happen?
So it's an interesting dynamic that we see play out almost every day. And what's true, what we believe is true always, is that people are open to new ideas, new concepts, new personal chemistries, new approaches, things like that. That's true both for the emerging companies. We use that term specifically because that means that a company has been established at least for some period of time. They have a team, they've got product, they have customers, they have war stories, which is probably the most important element of all that. And then the enterprise clients, they have a need for either growth or need for innovation, and all that coming together is just a true alchemy, true chemistry that we're honored to be a part of. What we do is we have network connections effectively throughout the world that we've built up over time through our team. Our team is really a team of seasoned business executives from a variety of industries, and from those connections, they've promulgated this network that we activate on every client's behalf.
One of the exciting things for me is working with companies that start in other parts of the world and set up operations here in the U.S. And I find that so exciting with what you're doing, because you work with so many dozens of those companies that have started in other parts of the world. They want to open U.S. operations. What's the process that you go through to help them scale here?
So many companies that are non-native to the U.S. or international companies, they do want to come here to the U.S. for lots of reasons. And we can go through those, but many of those are pretty well known in terms of market size, stability of business, stability of currency, quality of life. There's lots of reasons why companies have an aspiration to come here. What we do is no matter how good they are in their native markets, and many of these are just terrific companies in, say, a Brazil or a South Africa or or UAE, but it's a different market here, as it would be if we had a U.S. company going somewhere else. What we do is figure out two main questions. It's both in their strategy type questions, which is who do we want to talk to and what do we want to say to them? And once we figure out those two critical questions, and that's an iterative experience, so it's not just one answer arrived at instantly. Once we figure those two questions out, then we activate. We go knock on doors and make introductions. But the process is figuring out that initial strategy, which we do quick cycle, and then start making introductions.
And so that's for companies that start elsewhere and want to come here. But the opposite is what you do as well, because you work with lots of U.S. companies that want to expand to other parts of the world, and you already have that network that is so vibrant. How do you help them do that?
So it's a somewhat of a similar process, although we have to be very clear about those two questions about what's valuable to them in their non-native markets. So for instance, we're working right now with a 135-year-old valve manufacturing company in Pennsylvania that makes a terrific product, and they don't have the ability to go into markets such as Africa or India, and we're helping them do that by a couple of things. One is the same questions that we talked about just a few minutes ago, but then also what's the local landscape? Local landscape in terms of regulations, in terms of business custom, in terms of cash transactions, all the range of issues that come up when you're dealing with a market that you don't know. We have the ability to be on the ground and help navigate through all that. And it is, in some cases, pretty tenuous, pretty risky in some cases, and we help minimize that risk through the ability to make local connections in those markets that they're choosing.
And it's those local ecosystems that are so enormously valuable.
Completely. That is really what our true secret sauce is, to be quite honest, is the strength of our local ecosystems, which we nurture constantly. We help stay in touch with them. We include them and integrate them into different projects that we may have where they may not have, the client may not be interested to go to India, but we'll pull the India network in just to see if there might be an opportunity or to at least be aware and understanding about what's going on. So if we need to go into India at some point, it's a warm start, not a cold start.
And the Boston ecosystem, which we nurture so strongly, is enhanced greatly by your expanded ecosystem for our clients and companies that we work with.
So when you completely, when you talk about the Boston brand internationally, it is the highest brand. Some would argue that Silicon Valley may have a higher brand, which is true from one perspective, which is typically thought of through venture capital or maybe technology advancement. But what we have is that, those two aspects, plus healthcare, plus education, plus now new technologies that are arising. So when non-native or international companies think of the U.S., Boston is usually the first on the list for a landing spot or a place to engage with because of those factors.
I completely agree with you. Let's shift completely away from business.
Sure.
Tell me about hobbies.
So it's a great question, and it's a dynamic question for me right now. So I am the proud father of two adult daughters who have launched, as in out of college and into very productive careers. So when I was that doting father, along with my wife, doting parents, we spent a lot of time with our daughters, focused on their activities and stuff. Now that they've launched, I'm now reigniting my passion for things like sports. So lots of racket sports, tennis, paddle, pickle, and also golf. And we're doing a ton of traveling now, my wife and I. So we're enjoying that a lot. And the best part about that is we are now getting asked by our daughters, can they join us which is terrific. And once in a while, they pick up the tab for dinner and drinks, which is the cherry on top.
Very nice. Favorite place to travel?
So we've been to a number of places. We just got back 2 months ago from Nova Scotia, which I can't recommend highly enough. It was a terrific place to go. We're looking forward to going back. Coastline, the temperature and climate was great. The people are just terrifically friendly. My favorite place of all time to go is Ireland. I love being in the Irish culture and the Irish landscape, and with the Irish people. Love playing golf and on Irish courses, and so that was probably my favorite place.
Terrific. Your work is so exciting. The results have been phenomenal. How does our audience get in touch with you?
So the best way to get in touch with me would be really two ways. First is my email, which is Scott, SCOTT, Sargis, SARGIS, at IECPartners.com. It's all IEC Partners, all one word. The second way is through LinkedIn. I check LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and I love that community building, that network creation. So those two ways are probably the best way to reach me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being with me here today. This has been a treat.
Thank you, Steve, for having me. I enjoy these sessions as an audience member all the time. So now as a participant, I'm really looking forward to this. And thank you to the audience for listening.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Brewin on Broad Street.